Hey folks, it's me, Kristen Hamilton, back to talk about common names for black men. When you hear certain names, don't you think about different things in your life? Like, if you think of the word James, think about Rick James or Dave Chappelle saying, "I'm Rick James, bitch!" Ha ha ha. Or if you hear the word Joe, you think of Joe Blow. Or if you hear Randall, you could be talking about your son. Or you could be talking about Allen. You say Allen, you'll be thinking about Allen Iverson, the basketball player. If you hear Brian, you'll think of Brian Oneil. And if you hear Antoine, you'll probably think of Antoine Fisher, the black movie star. If you hear the word Charles, you'll think of Charles Barkley, another basketball player, actually. When you hear Chuck, you might think about Uncle Chuck, that sings with a lot of celebrities, makes music for The Game and Jay-Z and Kanye West. Or you could be thinking about Chuck Wagon. Remember, I think it's dog food that they had once upon a time, a long time ago in the 70s. They had like a little chuck wagon on the back and some little horses on the front carrying the dog food out, and you saw the dog chasing after it. Then if you hear about Darren, then you know he's no good with that name. Then if you hear the word Derrick, you'll think of Derek Fisher, woo, the fine guy with number 2 that plays for the LA Lakers. I love you, Derek Fisher. And if you hear David, it's in the Bible. Or you could also hear David and Goliath. It's an animated cartoon that came out back in the early 70s. And it was like claymated. If you hear the name Dionne, you'll think of Dionne Warwick. She was a singer back in the early 80s. If you hear the word Don, you'll think of Don Cornelius from Soul Train. That came out in the 70s and the 80s. If you hear the word Douglas, you'll think of Douglas Fir Christmas Tree, where I got mine from Home Depot this year for $19.99. Then if you hear the word Andre, you'll think of Andre Crouch. He's a gospel singer. Or if you'll hear Dre, Dr. Dre, he makes music. Or you could also hear Dr. Dre, Dr. Dre, 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 Dr. Dre, Dr. Dre, Dr. Drake, Dre. He's also a DJ that they had back in the early 90s. Dr. Dre and Ed Lover. They had yoMTv raps that used to come on MTV around 3 o'clock afternoons. Then if you hear the word EricK or EricK, you could think of Eric Estrada, the Hispanic guy that came from the TV show Chips back in the early 80s. He was good looking. As a matter of fact, I saw him at the Grove on 3rd Street in Fairfax in Los Angeles, and I took a picture of him with him, and his wife was there and his little girl. I think at the time she was like 3 or 4 years old. Then if you hear the word Devante, you'll think of the youngest brother to JODECI singing group, R&B group. If you hear the word Damion, you'll think of Damion Marley, who is Bob Marley's son. One of his songs that has a new song out now by Nas. It's really good. You might want to check that out. If you will hear the word Akeem, it sounds like a Muslim name or African name or Swahili. But nope, that was the name of my ex-boyfriend. If you hear the name John, that's my dad's name. Oh, what a loving man. And my brother, John, he's a year younger than me. If you hear the word Quesi, That's a guy's name also. His name, I don't know where it came from, but in high school, no, elementary, we went to the open school together, and his sister's name was Jenny. Then if you think of the word Kim, you might think of a lot of swap meets in Los Angeles are owned by people by the name of Kim. It could be their first name or their last name, or you could think of Kim Khardashian, who was married to Lamar Odem. That comes on every Saturday and Sunday between 10 and 2 o'clock on Time Warner's Channel 51, which is the E channel. Love that show, Kim Kardashian and Khloe. Then if you think about Larry, you might think about Larry Bird. That's an old basketball player that retired a long time ago. And if you hear the word Mario, you might think of dun 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 dun. Remember that song? It came from Mario Brothers back in 91, 92, that little arcade game that they had on Nintendo 64. Now, if you hear the word Melvin, you might think of Melvin and the Bluenotes. That was a R&B group that came out in the 60s and the 70s. What about the name Nick or Nicholas? That's in the Bible also. That happens to be my little cousin's name. Or you might think of St Nick Santa Claus. If you hear the word Randy, it might be Randy's Donuts on Manchester and La Cienega in the city of Westchester. They have the best donuts in Westchester, close to the LAX airport. Now if you hear the word Tyrone, that is about as ghetto as can be. And if you might also think about this song, call Tyrone, call him and tell him come on, come on, come on, come on. That's a song by EricK. And Reggie is my uncle, and he has 4 daughters and a son. And if you hear the name Ricky, I have a brother named Ricky, and you could also think about Ricky Martin. He's a pop singer, Latino. If you hear Ron, you might think of Ronald McDonald, the charity they have for McDonald's. If you hear the word Sean, that's my auntie's name, or Terri, you might think of Terri the mechanic, or you might think of Terri McMillan. You might think of, she's a black author. She has a lot of books out. You might think about Tommy Hilfiger, or Tommy the Clown, that has birthday parties for a lot of people, and they do all kind of dances, crunk dancing, jerking, and you could just type in Tommy the Clown and they'll come to your house and dance for you, all kind of stuff. So just to let you know about these names, common names for black men. Have a good day.